So, Bishop, why don't you take us back to the beginning of when you first came to the Diocese of Springfield, and one of your first initiatives was to visit every parish in the diocese. Can you give us some of your perceptions and observations on that? How did that go?
Well, it certainly, for me, was a way of getting to know the parishes and the people of our diocese. So the way that the day is scheduled, I'd spend time with the pastor, with the deacons, with the pastoral staff, with the finance council, the pastoral council, and usually began in the morning by celebrating Mass and gathering with the parishioners who would be at morning Mass. So that was, for me, a way to get to know each of the parishes of our diocese, what their hopes were, what their dreams were, what ministries were taking place in each of those parishes. And it gave to me a good perspective on really the breadth and depth of what our parishes are in the midst of the community and what they are as worshiping communities throughout the diocese.
The Archbishop said he was most impressed with the involvement of parishioners in each parish community that he visited, and especially their creative ideas in helping to spread the faith to others.
So there were always plenty of ideas and ways to bring those ideas to fruition that were talked about on those parish visits. So I was really impressed with the involvement of the laity, with the leadership of the parishes, and with the ability of the parishes to kind of assess their own situation and see what they needed to do in order to bring the message of Christ to others.
Also, when you first arrived, Bishop, one of your initiatives was to reinstate the position of youth ministry director. And I wondered if you could talk about, what you have learned about the youth of our diocese and what their role is in our church today and in the future.
Well, whenever I would visit the parishes, one of the overarching themes of the pastoral council meeting was, how do we get our youth involved in our parishes? And in many parishes, there is great youth involvement. I know with the summer, we could not have the vacation Bible schools, but what impressed me as I visited different parishes, and particularly as I was invited to different parishes during the summer, was the involvement of young people in the vacation Bible schools, in leading younger people in the faith. And I think that was a wonderful way of showing how faith can be lived out. I think of all of those who attend Camp Holy Cross in so many different ways, to have their faith strengthened, to come together, to be able to worship together, but also to talk about faith. So that's been very heartening to me.
Archbishop, another major decision that you had was the merger of the former Holyoke Catholic High School and Cathedral High School. What did you learn from that merger? How difficult was it, and was there what good came from this also?
I would say that merger and the situation that I faced when I first came to the diocese was one of the most difficult decisions I ever had to make in my life. And when it was over, I said, please God, don't put me in this position to do this again. However, we got a lot of input from all sorts of different parts of the diocese, from all different groups of people. There was no clear answer, and I think that was the difficult part of the decision. There was no yes or no clear. Nothing came through clearly. So it really was a discernment process. But I think in sticking with the process, in taking in so many opinions, that eventually the vision became clear of what we needed to do. And ultimately, I think it was the right decision. So what I learned from it, patience. I learned that everybody's an expert. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody knew what to do, in one way or another. But it was only in taking serious time to discern and to reflect on a vision for the school that vision came about.
Now, as you're preparing to leave us, in the Diocese of Springfield. We're also facing the revelations of the Velas report on how we handle abuse allegations in our diocese. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what we've learned from that, and maybe what advice you will leave for your predecessor as we still deal with the repercussions of these revelations.
Certainly, and very painful. Any accusation, any allegation, or any sexual abuse against clergy is very, very painful for the whole church. And this has been a very painful time, I must acknowledge, for me. But in taking the Velas report, Judge Velas report to us, I think that the judge analyzed how that one situation was handled and how we can improve upon it. And the task force that has been set up will take those recommendations and will implement them in the way that we deal with any allegation going forward. I think that will really tighten the way in which we take in the allegation, report the allegation, and deal with the allegation. So I'm very hopeful that from this report we have learned a lot, and that we can implement what's in the report for the betterment of our diocese and the people of our diocese.
Archbishop Rozanski, as a native of Baltimore, says he will take many fond memories of Western Massachusetts with him as he moves on to St. Louis. And he urges the people of the Diocese of Springfield to continue the good work they're doing.
My message to the people of the Diocese of Springfield is there is so much goodness here, so much goodness in our people and our parishes and the work that is being done on behalf of the kingdom. And do not let anything diminish that good work that is being done.
What is your prayer for us as you say farewell?
When I first arrived here, I met the nuncio about 6 weeks after my installation at another event. And I said to the nuncio, you really did your homework on Springfield, because when I arrived here, I felt like it was such a good match. And I felt right at home here right away. And I know that as I leave here, our current papal nuncio will work to make sure that the next bishop is a good match. So welcome the next bishop to the diocese. Work with him as you have worked with me. And I know that he will be a very happy leader, and he will be a very good leader for the Diocese of Springfield.